All right, we're joined now by Creighton beat reporter, the Omaha World Herald, John Walker. We need to have him on because this is one of those monumental weeks and days in his sport and the team he covers. A guy like Coach McDermott steps down, and that's only a little part of the story because Alan Huss takes over. But talk to me about how you've tried to tell this story.
Yeah, like it's such a unique situation. Even going back to last year, like the coach in waiting thing, you don't see that everywhere. And
usually doesn't work.
It usually doesn't work. And so Creighton had a really, really unique situation where Greg McDermott had a spot open up on his bench because Ryan Miller left for Murray State.
Sure.
And instead of just hiring another assistant, he was like, I'm coming up, I'm in my 60s now. Like, what if I used this open space and made it so much more impactful than just another assistant? Not to discredit the assistants, but just from a positional standpoint. And so he pitched the idea of picking a successor and having that person being a coach in waiting. He pitched that to Daniel Hendrickson, Creighton's president, and athletic director Marcus Blossom, and everybody was on board. The important thing is, Michael, Mac wanted it to be somebody from his coaching tree. He wanted it to be one of his guys. He wanted it to be one of Creighton's guys. And Darian DeVries stepped into a good situation in Indiana.
Right.
And it was only a matter of time, as we know now, before Alan Huss also became a coaching commodity.
Oh yeah, he goes to the tournament with High Point, and they finally win a game. It's probably him coaching.
Exactly. So like, he knew when he came back last summer, they had what he said 32 or 33 wins sitting at High Point. If Alan Huss had stayed, he would immediately be one of the top candidates in this coaching cycle, right? Yeah. So who knows what's going to happen?
It's a heck of a coaching cycle. It is,
Who knows what's going to happen with the coaching cycle at this point? But we knew that he'd be a pretty hot candidate. And so they kind of like rid the university, Blossom, Hendrickson, McDermott of all of that by saying, we're going to do a coach in waiting situation. You get to suggest your successor. We avoid a coaching search. We get a native son, a Creighton guy in Alan Huss. And here we are a year later with the succession plan coming to fruition.
Do you think it would happen that fast? When you first heard about it?
No. So candidly, I talked to a lot of people the day that Alan Huss came back, obviously, and people around there were pretty firm in that they thought it would be 2 years.
Right.
That Mac would step aside after the 26-27 season. And I personally thought that with the way this season went,
me too,
that the competitor in Greg McDermott would be like, nah, I'm not going out on that.
Yeah.
Now, he's since said that like the ending, regardless of how it went, didn't decide for him. And so that's interesting, obviously. But I just thought personally he would run it back one more year because of how the season went. So everything that I had been led to believe suggested that it would be after next season. And then you kind of get down the final weeks of the regular season. You're like, oh, well, there's only 2 home games left. There's a really good chance these are the final home games of Greg McDermott's career. So then, you start asking around and people are like, yeah, it might be.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, then. So that's kind of how we're here now. No, I didn't think it would happen this quickly. I thought that Mac would have one more season and then hang it up.
Yeah.
And as we know now, it's this offseason, not next.
John Walker joined us from the Omaha World Herald, Creighton beat reporter. So obviously we know all the wins, winningest coach in Creighton history, took him to the Elite Eight, one foul away from being in a Final Four. I was just talking to Chuck Johnston a second ago from Nebraska High School Sports Hall of Fame. He told a story about how Mac donated all this stuff when he found out his son had ALS.
Yeah.
All of the stories that you're hearing and that you're collecting now, are more of them about him as a basketball coach or more of them about him as a person, as a man?
So we're probably 50 hours out from the announcement at the time we're recording this. Greg McDermott's, announcing he's retiring. And I've heard essentially nothing about any of the wins or any of the tournaments or anything, really. It's everybody I've talked to has mentioned the person, not the coach that Greg McDermott was. Crazy to say.
Yeah.
He's still got a couple games left. We can still say he is.
Well, couple.
Yeah, he's going to take him to the crown.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, but No, his impact transcends basketball at Creighton.
Sure.
And in the Creighton community, like the pink out has become such a
I
staple.
talk about that all the time.
It's such a staple of the legacy that he'll leave behind, not only at Creighton, but in Omaha.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to somebody who's like, who helps Creighton kind of put the pink out on, and they were like, indirectly, like he saved lives.
Oh, yeah.
So the pink out's raised over $1 million. The typical stay at Hope Lodge is, if you were getting a hotel in Omaha, it'd be 125, 175.
Sure, at
a
least,
night.
yeah, depending on what it was, yeah.
So let's assume the high end of that. If you take 175 and divide it by the 1.19 million the pink out's raised, that is 6,800 nights
Wow.
at Hope Lodge.
Yeah.
So that's 6,800 nights that people had, one, a roof over their head, completely free, and very close access to treatment that they needed. So yeah, like when you think about it like that, it's insane. Like, yeah, he indirectly did save lives through that effort. And then you start to talk about the coaches he's worked with and the players he's coached.
His coaching tree is pretty impressive.
And they all say the same thing.
Right.
Like, I talked to Dana Altman on Monday. He didn't say a thing about any of the game. Okay, that's not true. He said he wishes Mac would have got the Final Four.
Oh,
and
yeah,
and
sure.
That,
yeah.
Dana's told it multiple times about how he almost threw his glass to the TV when the whistle happened.
Yeah, Coach Herberg said the same thing. He said, I wish he would have gotten the Final Four.
So, like, that is the only game that I've heard anybody talk about as it pertains to Greg McDermott. And the rest of it is, all about the person that he is.
Yeah, it's remarkable to think about because Coach Altman took them such a high level as a mid-major.
He did.
Right, and he walks away, and I remember the first time he walked away and then the second time, and thinking to myself, okay, they're bringing this guy in, Greg McDermott, who had struggled at Iowa State in a way. Kitty, get them to the next level. And then all of a sudden, a couple years later, like, well, you got to go to the Big East.
Yeah.
And you got to deal with that.
Yep.
And you could really say that he took it to a whole nother level. And now Alan Huss has this pressure. The next level is the Final Four.
It is. There are only three, I guess, that the program is still chasing at this point. It has not won a Big East tournament.
Okay.
Has not made it to the Final Four, and obviously has not won a national championship.
Right.
So that's it. Like, they've won the Big East regular season. They probably want to do that a few more times than just once. But they've won the Big East. They won the Missouri Valley plenty of times.
Sure.
They've been to the Elite Eight. They've been to the Sweet 16. They've been to 5, what should have been 6 consecutive NCAA tournaments, if not for COVID.
Right.
And so what else is there to do at Creighton except win the Big East tournament and get to a Final Four?
Yeah.
Like, so those are huge shoes that Huss knows he's stepping into.
Right.
He's well aware of kind of what the expectation has been, and now under him, what the expectation is. And I'm really interested to see how he handles all of that. He seems really, really eager to get going, to take that on after, a kind of year in the wings. And he'll have an opportunity moving forward.
He said something interesting, I thought, and I've heard him say this before about other things, but he does think outside the box.
He does.
He tries to be a forward thinker. Everybody says that he was ahead on NIL. He was ahead on the transfer portal. What do you think he's going to do that will be able to take Creighton to another level?
So it's really interesting, and I think a lot of it has to do with his background. Like, he spent, I think, a decade coaching nationally recognized prep schools. So through coaching AAU, like, he developed kind of those grassroots relationships,
The connections,
yeah. So, like, I'm sure that helps if you're recruiting a kid from Illinois. You can step back in and say, hey, I went to Decatur. Like, I coached at Decatur, and this, that, and the other. So, yeah, I really think it's the relationship building. We all are very well aware that Creighton does not have the most money to just shell out. Like, does Creighton have the money that Kansas or Duke or North Carolina did? Like, no.
It's kind of in the next tier, though.
It is.
Like, they aren't as bad. Obviously, they could take more of it and put in a basketball, right?
Right.
But when you think about where they are, and it didn't work out this year, but I mean, they spent $8 million.
Yeah, they did.
Right?
They did. So, like, they have resources.
Sure.
That's not the point. But, like, whether it was McDermott, when it was Altman, now when it's Huss, like, Creighton stands out on the recruiting trail for a lot of kids through the relationships that they build. And I think that's going to continue under Alan Huss.
Right.
You know, resources be damned, really. Whatever they end up being, whether they're abundant or whether they're sparse. Like those relationships have really been the separator for Creighton on the recruiting trail. Whether that was high school kids or the portal the past few years. Like, I don't know, did Creighton have any business landing Baylor Shireman other than him being from Aurora, Nebraska?
That's why,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, everybody in the country wanted Baylor Shireman.
Yeah.
And he, of course, the proximity helped, being a little over an hour away from home. But he could have went to Nebraska if he wanted to be close to home, right? But no, it was the relationships that he developed at Creighton.
And Baylor wanted to win.
And Baylor wanted to win. And mind you, Alan Huss was on staff when they recruited Baylor Shireman.
Right.
So yeah, I it'll be different for sure. But I'm intrigued. I'm eager, not anxious. I'm eager. I think Huss will do a good job. How's he going to do it?
Right.
Well, we'll all wait and see.
John Walker joining us, Omaha World Herald Creighton beat reporter. Sam wrote this a couple of weeks ago, and I looked at it 4 or 5 different times, and he kind of mentioned that the worm had turned, right? Yeah. He went over how the Collier matchups were and Doc matchups and how bad it was for a stretch, you know, especially under Tim Miles. And now it feels like with Creighton changing over and Nebraska going where it is, that they have now taken control of this series or the rivalry. Do you feel that?
I don't know. It certainly feels that way in the moment, right? Like back-to-back wins. Back-to-back, like,
decisive wins,
convincing, very convincing wins, including the one in Omaha, right? Like, and then we all know what happened this past season or this season, since it's not over. Yeah. So, yeah, it certainly feels
it's
like
3 or 4, right?
3 or 4, yeah.
3 or 4,
they had split. They went back and forth for 4 years, I think. And then now Nebraska's won 3 or 4. Yeah. So we'll see next year. But right now, in this moment, like it feels like the pendulum swung. Not necessarily because Nebraska won 2 games, but because of how Nebraska won both of those games so convincingly. So I know Huss probably takes a lot of pride in that matchup, being a Creighton guy. He literally subtweeted Jaskers in his introductory press conference.
I keep receipts.
Yeah, so like, if I'd be crazy to think that matchup in particular doesn't matter to a lifelong Blue Jay. So what type of fire is Huss gonna bring to that matchup next year?
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see and what happens from here. What do you think Mac does?
I think he'd be really, really good on TV.
Oh, he'd be great on TV.
He'd be phenomenal on TV. Yeah. I think he'll have opportunities to do TV if he wants. I really don't know. He's going to golf in the immediate future.
Yeah. Chuck said he could be a scout. And,
I think so.
And he could make like $400,000, $500,000 a year just going and scouting for for NBA teams.
Yeah, he could be in a front office tomorrow if he really wanted to. Right. Like, he is a brilliant offensive mind.
Yeah.
We've noted on here, obviously, like he's a very well-regarded, highly regarded person as well. But just like, he is a brilliant basketball mind. And
go to speaking tours.
So he could be a scout tomorrow. He could be in a front office tomorrow. I think he's going to golf in the immediate future.
Oh, heck yeah.
I asked him how his golf game was before he left the Huss presser, and he said, "Not good yet." I said, okay. So I think he's had a lot of golf in his immediate future.
Go watch his son play.
Yeah.
Which he couldn't do.
He couldn't. He mentioned he mentioned that Tuesday night he was in Charlotte.
Yeah, watching Doug and
watched Doug and Kalk go at it.
Yeah.
And he said that was the first time that he's watched Doug play in person in 2 years.
That's crazy.
Doug's been with the Kings for 2 seasons now, and that was the first time that Greg McDermott had ever watched his son play for the Kings. So, like, that just immediately frees you up to live life. Really.
Yep.
The interesting thing is, Michael, what's going to happen in January, in February?
Yeah.
When you're midway through basketball season and Greg McDermott's sitting in Arizona or wherever is going.
People are calling him.
Boy.
Calling his agent.
Yeah. They're saying,
sure, you don't want to coach anymore?
Hey, what's he doing? What's he up to?
Right.
So, does he get the itch in a year after stepping away?
Yeah.
It absolutely happens.
Yeah.
Kyle Whittingham. Like,
Oh yeah,
that's a really unique
that was
situation.
a quick itch.
Yeah. I like, scratched it and it itched again. But
Right.
like, does he get the itch? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if he knows, to be honest.
Yeah.
But in the immediate future, it sounds like that he's really happy to just take a step back from this climate,
Right.
which is nowhere near the one that he stepped into 4 decades ago,
Right.
and hit the links.
Last thing, in terms of recruiting,
Yeah.
because when your coach leaves, it does help that you have a guy who was already there as part of the recruiting process. How's it been affected?
Yeah, it's been affected. Like, Creighton has not had strong. I shouldn't say strong. Creighton has not had plentiful high school recruiting classes the past couple of years. Just one last year with Hudson Greer.
Yeah.
Am I missing just a couple?
2 years ago, Jackson McAndrew.
Yeah, just a couple that year with or no, they had 3 because they got McAndrew, they had Ty Davis, and old friend alert, Larry Johnson.
Larry Johnson, right?
Was a part of that. Was a part of that group. So last year was just Hudson Greer. This year it was Jaden Kuhn and Cottrell Harmon.
Right.
And as of Tuesday night, it's just Cottrell Harmon.
Which I'm glad about because I don't really trust anybody named Kuhn.
Yeah. So,
I'm from the South. I don't trust that at all.
so like, it affected it. Absolutely. Like, I talked to people close to Jaden and they were like, McDermott was his dream coach.
Right.
Like, we knew it was a possibility when he committed, obviously, that he could step away. But like, now that he has stepped away, like, we're going to see what options we have on the table. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, that's what happens when you have a coaching change.
Yeah.
And the good thing is Cottrell's locked in.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to be here. And from everyone I've talked to, it sounds like he's going to be a guy who comes in and competes from the jump. So if I had to guess, like, Creighton's going to bring in a portal point guard to what they need to anyways. I think Cottrell's going to be really good, but like, understandably so, you can't just hand the offense to a freshman, right, without improving it. So like, I think Creighton's going to bring in a portal point guard, but like, I fully expect Cottrell Harmon to compete from day one. And so being able to keep him, as much as it sucks to lose Jaden,
they got an interesting core coming back, by the way.
They do. They
really do.
So like, I think it'll be good. I think it'll be good. It was important to keep Cottrell, in my opinion.
Yeah,
they did.
And now, do you jump straight in? Does Huss jump straight into portal recruiting, or?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the benefit of Mac coaching the Crown.
Yeah,
is one, I think it will give him and the Creighton community closure. Now that they know, hey, the 40 minutes of basketball we're watching definitively could be Mac's last.
Yeah.
But on top of that, like, if Creighton runs the table at the Crown, you play 3 games in 3 days, 4 days, whatever it is. The championship game is on April 5th. It's the Sunday between the Final Four and the national championship.
Right.
So then the national championship's on Monday. The portal opens on Tuesday. If you wait until Monday after the Crown to figure out the portal, you're doomed.
Too late. Yeah, you already lost.
Like, people are already recruiting the portal. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah, it sounds like Huss is just going to focus on retaining the players that they need to retain, that core that you mentioned, and then supplement those players with a few portal pieces.
Interesting, man. It's always great to have stuff to write about. Sometimes it's too much stuff.
Yeah,
but it's pretty cool.
Today was like information overload.
Yeah.
It's like you're Mac didn't want it to be about himself.
Right.
Like, he sat in the second to last row right in front of all the media.
Yeah.
It's like, it is about you. I understand you want it to be about Huss, but like, it's about you.
Yeah.
You're the winningest coach in program history.
Yeah.
You're leaving. So no, it was like trying to give Mac his due, trying to give Huss his due as well. So a little bit of information overload.
Well,
We're sorting through it.
I appreciate you taking the time in the middle of a lot of writing.
Always.
I appreciate that.
I'm always doing a lot.
You always do a lot of writing. John Walker, Omaha World Herald, Creighton beat reporter on a very busy time for the university.